There are some modern day, what we call natural castrato, and these are endocrinological or because of certain conditions where the voice just doesn't change and they are able to retain their high range through the puberty change without any alteration. A few examples of that would be Raru Mart. There's even been said that Chris Colfer, the young man that played the part of Kurt in Glee, has retained his high voice through voice change. His voice just didn't transfer over, and you'll hear him talk about that in some interviews and things that he's done. So that is sort of another example. If he was trained in classical and operatic music and sings up in the high range, then that's sort of the sound that you were likely to hear. Raru is a very, very excellent example of that type of sound, and you'll when you hear it, it's very unique and very different from that of what is now a very popular another style of singing, the countertenor. So countertenor is a little different. They're falsettists, which means that they're singing in their falsetto voice, not their natural voice, but still up in the high range, in the alto and the soprano range. And also plays characters in operas and things, and does secular or sacred music of this era, just doing that with falsetto voice. And a good example of that is Philip Jaruski. There's also an American classical opera singer, Michael Maniaci. So a couple of examples, and we'll have those linked down below for you. There's a movie called Farinelli, and it is based on probably one of the most famous castrati at the height of Baroque opera. Now, he was noted for his awkwardness and bad acting. However, this movie was done by a Belgian director. It's one of my favorite movies to watch. The aesthetic of it is quite beautiful. Of course, they chose as their leading man the actor that portrays Farinelli. Is quite handsome and not really all that awkward. On stage, though, they do sort of portray the fact that they don't do a lot. They really just stand and sing and just try to look pretty. So as part of that aesthetic, you'll also get a good view of the staging and how they used these sets to create these effects. Another one of the things that I find fascinating about historical stage settings and everything is how they would try to create these special effects, for lack of a better term, on stage. So you get these giant sets with these big boats that come in, or a giant peacock tail that opens up. All the work that goes into all of that, I've always found that to be fascinating, and this movie does a great job of letting you see some of that. Clothing is beautiful, the music is gorgeous, a lot of Handel. Handel is actually part of the story and the plot that goes on. Essentially, the story itself is it's a historical fiction, so keep that in mind. This is not actually historically accurate, similar to how there were changes when they did the movie Amadeus to portray Mozart. They do change some of the story for effective drama. So keep that in mind. It's a good starting place to get, some of that flavor. Essentially, the movie is based on the story of two brothers. One of them, Carlo Maria Michelangelo Nicola Broschi, becomes the famous Farinelli, and he was born in 1705 and lived to be 85. So pretty much covers most of this whole era. It's said that Farinelli could sing all the way up to a high C, which at that time was the highest note that was really what you would hear. Singers now go quite a bit higher than that. If we're, in operas, we get up into high E's. Definitely several operas have sopranos singing up a high E, even high G, F, so forth. So very, very high. But at that time, especially at Castrati, singing all the way up to a high C, it was quite a feat, and definitely highly impressive. The movie itself is based around the two brothers, Farinelli and then his brother. And his brother is a composer, and that part is historically accurate. However, the rest of the story and how all of it plays out, not necessarily. Also, the part with Handel. And they do, use examples of Handel's operas, which during the time of the height of the Baroque, Handel, Vivaldi opera. And the story does have Handel as one of the main characters in the movie. You get to hear a few stunning works from Handel, one of my favorite opera composers of the Baroque.
In the 18th century, no man was more famous, more wealthy, more worshipped than the man with the voice of an angel, the singer called Farinelli. His music seduced women. His magic controlled kings. His songs were the sounds of heaven. The provocative true story of two brothers who shared their talents, their passions, and the secret of the most extraordinary singer the world has ever known. Farinelli. They stole the gift that made him a man to give him the voice that made him a god.
I definitely recommend that you check this movie out. It is subtitled. The particular director also has a few other movies, one of them called Le Roi Danse, The Dance of the King. That one is based on Lully, the composer for King Louis XIV, which I thought was also a really beautiful movie. Foreign films are just my cup of tea. I just love it. The Decapo Aria was king. All of the arias at that time are basically Decapo arias, which we're going to talk about in part of this this little series. This is where we're going to seg into that. So the Decapo aria is a form. When you talk about the form of a song, well, let's use a modern song as an example. So typically, something you're going to hear on the radio is going to have a verse, it's going to have a chorus. Chorus is going to come back. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to hear it a few more times. Stick a bridge in there, go back to chorus, right? So verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus. Let's have a break. Guitar solo, let's go back to chorus. That's a very typical form that you find in modern music. Well, All songs have a form of some sort. The Decapo Aria, that means you go back to the beginning, starts out with, let's call it A section. So A, you have a text, sing through it. B section, and in the Decapo Aria is typically a contrast of some sort. It's maybe going to change tempo. If the beginning part is slow, the middle part will probably maybe be a little faster. Maybe you're going to change key centers. If the beginning part was fast, then the middle part's probably slow. It's going to change mood, so you can clearly tell it's also got a different text. As soon as the B section is over, you go right back into the A section. So when you go back to that A section, you dress it up, you're going to ornament it, add in extra notes, even a cadenza maybe. And this is where the singer gets to shine and really show off their ability. Now, for people in the audience that would attend, they would expect to hear something different. It was absolutely unheard of for a singer to sing the same ornamentation or the same cadenza more than once. They were expected to be able to just improvise it on the fly, which is part of the reason that they went through such a rigorous training in those, when I was talking about ornamented passaggi, that's where they're basically practicing their skills and just being able to come up with things off the cuff. And their skill and ability was really displayed by being able to do this and do something different every night. This was their form of entertainment. And so if a production or an opera was going on, they may even just have them sing it again. They would sing it a second time, like as an encore. The structure of these operas can sometimes be a little tedious. This is something I'll probably go into in more in depth in a later video when we talk more about the structure of these types of operas. But there was a plot, but the way that the music is set up is not what our modern ear is really accustomed to. And so each aria is a stand and sing sort of situation. There's not a lot of acting, there's not, the same type of drama. And it's important to keep that in mind whenever you're listening to some of these things, that you have to listen to it with ears at the time, not your modern ears. And so understanding what you're supposed to be listening for the vocal pyrotechnics and that sort of thing, not trying to apply the same type of artistic qualities that we currently do. So again, we'll talk about that some more down the road and the different types of arias that you would hear, and they had different names for them. I'm so glad to be able to get this all started so that we can start talking more about music history, because this is my favorite thing ever. Feel free to put comments. I want to hear what you have to say. If you've got some, you want to drop some knowledge on me, I'm all about it. So just put that down in there. Ask me questions. We can dig a little deeper. I want to hear from you guys. I want to engage with you guys. I'm excited about this, and I hope you guys are too. Share it with your friends. You got some people you think might want to check it out. Definitely do that. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like the video. If you got something out of all of this, and the notification bell so you know when the next video is coming out, and you can be right on top of that. So I am so glad you guys came by.